Welcome back into In-Game Live Game Day right here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you, rolling through yet another day of previewing the big game. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks now, and it is almost here upon us. What did you say earlier, George? 22 and a half hours away or something? We're probably under 20 hours away now. We'll have coverage for you throughout the entire day on Sunday right here on SportsGrid during the game as well, giving you coverage and up-to-date information on the in-game possibilities. If you want to bet during the action, keep it here all day long, tuned to SportsGrid. George, we have some hockey getting ready to drop the puck here at the top of the hour, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We talked about the Stars and the Sharks. Stars a heavy favorite here, and they've really had the Sharks number. But you said you have a little bit of concern here because the Stars are on a back-to-back, and we have seen the Sharks take some money. Would you at all consider possibly taking the big price with what has really been a lousy San Jose team this season?
Yeah, listen, they're not a good team, but they're not as bad as they used to be. They're not the baby Sharks anymore. They're just Sharks. They're not great whites. But they're turning a corner here. Celebrini is a really good player that they were able to draft there. So give them a couple of years, they'll be back. But, yeah, this is still a bad team. My only worry tonight is purely because the Stars played last night. And I generally do not like to take teams playing on the second half of back-to-back nights against teams that haven't played back-to-back nights, especially on the road. It's generally not a good recipe for success here. That being said, the Stars did lose last night. They lost to the Kings. They are the better team here. I don't see them losing two going into the break. All right, remember the Four Nations break starts after the games tomorrow afternoon. There are no games tomorrow during Super Bowl tomorrow night here. So I'm on the Stars. I think there's two ways to attack it. I decided to take it in a parlay with those LA Kings, the two teams that played last night. But as I told you before, it's a small bet. It's really a bet because I'm on the show with you and I wanted to have something there, so I took that. A better way to do it, maybe if you believe in the Stars, truly believe them, is to take them on the puck line and take the plus money. I didn't go that direction because I'm only getting plus 106 now. I believe earlier when we talked it was plus 104, so it's gone up 2 cents, if that makes you feel better. So that's the way I'm going to play that kid. They are the better team. No doubt they're the better team. It's just all about playing last night and maybe being a little bit tired against a team that did not.
The other one about to get underway at the Saddle Dome in Calgary, the Flames playing host to the Seattle Kraken. And these two just met about a week ago, and it was the Flames winning at Seattle. The Kraken currently on a 3-game losing skid. But the Flames just a short favorite here. When I last looked, it was just minus 130. It seems to me the Kraken have been kind of stumbling as well, George. Does 130 feel cheap to you?
I got 137 now. It was 134. So once again, we're getting bets coming in on the Flames. This is where I'm at as well. I'm on the Flames tonight. They don't call me Captain Shaw for nothing. So I think the Flames much more the better team. Seattle is an average team. This is what they're average. They're not bad. They're not good. They're sort of in middling hell, which is where you can't be in professional sports nowadays here. Calgary is one of the more pleasant surprises this season. They're playing better than we expected them to play here. The goaltending's been fantastic. I'm sort of leaning towards the under in this game as well. It is 5.5, but it's only minus 106, so I kind of like that also here. But my favorite play as far as the late games is concerned is the Calgary Flames. Once again, I got it at minus 132, I believe, even earlier tonight. So Flames is my favorite play of the late games tonight.
I think we kicked off the show, George, and you mentioned, of course, the big game, Super Bowl 59, taking place on Sunday in New Orleans. And I think you said that some teams were going to open spring training tomorrow, on Sunday, I believe, as well. I'm fired up for baseball. I know you're a big baseball guy. I've already made a few season win total bets. I will throw a few teams out at you, and I'd have to look up the number exactly. But before I do that, I'm just going to get your opinion here, and maybe you've got it in front of you on what their season win total number is. I have to look it up on my account. But the Cleveland Guardians, is this a bet on team for you or a bet against? Would you be playing over their season win total number or under?
That whole division I mean, when you think about it, outside of the Chicago White Sox, who forget it, they're terrible. But the other 4 teams, the Royals, the Guardians, the Tigers, and who am I leaving? The Twins. These are all decent teams. They're not great teams, but they're decent teams here. So the win totals, and I'm on a couple of them as well here, along with a couple of home run totals I like here. Cleveland Guardians win total is 112. That's the figure, minus 112, 82.5. I'm on the over. It's not a large play, but I'm on the over. This team always figures it out. Now, I understand they made some trades that we don't like. All right. They got rid of Josh Naylor. They got rid of Jimenez. These are good players, not great players. I think they'll be able to replace them somewhat here. I do not think they'll win the division. I don't. All right. I think that's going to go to the Royals again here. But I think Cleveland's a decent squad here, Brady. So give me Cleveland over their total. Once again, not my favorite, not even close to my favorite here, but I think they get over 82.5.
Yep, and I just checked it. I did get 82.5, and I bet the over as well. So I'm glad we see eye to eye there. Next team, the Washington Nationals, and the total I'm seeing here, I don't know if it's moved in the last few days, but I have 70.5 wins for the Washington Nationals. Under or over, in your opinion?
That's what I got as well here, 70.5 here. Now, they play in a rough division, right? We know the Phillies are good. The Braves, even though I think the Braves are overrated, by the way, they're still a good team. Mets can certainly hit with anybody. Pitching, we'll see how that holds up here. All right, Marlins, not so much. In Washington, okay, we know they're not a great team. But they have made moves, right? They've made some moves here. They acquired Nathaniel Lowe here from the Texas Rangers, give it a little bit more pop. Your pitching staff, Gore, Irvin, Williams, I mean, listen, it's a bunch of who knows. This team is going to be decided on offense, and specifically James Wood, Dylan Cruz. All right, there are 2 rookies who got called up last season. Can they carry this team? It's a lot to ask. I think they should be able to get past 70.5. I'm not betting it, all right? Because once again, either guy goes down, he suffered an injury here, an injury there. It could be all over for the Washington Nationals real quick in a tough division here. So I think they should be able to get over it, but I'm not betting it.
I did bet it. I played over. I'm glad you leaned that way. I played over 70.5 wins for the Washington Nationals. All right, how about the Cincinnati Reds? Terry Francona takes over in the managerial role for Cincinnati. The number there, 78.5. Over or under, Mr. Kurtz?
I was on Sirius XM MLB radio this afternoon, and they asked the same question, Cincinnati Reds. I'll give you the same answer. I was on them last year. I was on I think I'm a year too early here. That's where I'm going. I'm a year too early. So the short answer is yes. I think they get over. We know they can hit. Does the pitching hold? It's not a great division. Sort of the anti what's going on in the East, right? Cardinals, they're not going anywhere. Cubs, okay. Oh, a decent team here. Pirates, no. Milwaukee Brewers, I'm never sure how they do it, but we're not hearing any great things out of them. I think this could be the Reds' year. Maybe they even win that division here. I think competing for a wild card could be tough here. But yes. All right. I was a year early last year, Brady. I'm trying to convince myself of that. I'm on the Reds to finish above 500 this year. So obviously that means they get at least 81 wins. So give me a yes on over 78.5.
Sounds like me betting golf tournaments. Oftentimes I pick the wrong guy on the wrong week. I've bet Thomas Dietrich. I mean, it's a very young season. We've only had a handful of tournaments already. And thankfully, knock on wood, I've had a couple of winners. But I've bet on Thomas Dietrich a couple of times. I did not bet him this week, and he has a 5-shot lead going into Sunday. One more. I have 4 season win total bets already in pocket for the upcoming baseball season. The Miami Marlins, under or over 63 wins.
I mean, you're asking a lot of what's going on with Alcantara? He's going to start opening day, but are they going to baby him? Not going to go deep into games. Yuri Perez, another top arm. He'll be back around midseason here. They don't have a lot of offense going there. Once again, it's probably one where I'm not betting it, but I feel better about Washington getting over 70.5 than I do about Miami. I'm going to leave it alone here, but I don't think it's going to be a very good year for Miami.
Well, I like where you're going there as well. I played under 63 wins for the Miami Marlins. We're into the second half of the program. It's in-game live game day right here on SportsGrid. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to In-Game Live Game Day here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you. They are underway in the second half. A couple of SEC basketball games going on, and Alabama really starting to pull away from Arkansas. I had a feeling this might be the case for the Razorbacks. 64-44, a 20-point advantage, and the in-game live just came off, or the in-game line rather, just came off the screen there. But I imagine Alabama, a heavy double-digit favorite in the live market at this point. I'll let you know when that pops back up. But just under 12 minutes left to go, and there it is. Oh, now they've switched. No, it's not up yet. Okay, they've switched the screen here on me. But 64-46 now as the Razorbacks get a bucket and trim that deficit to 18. 11 and a half minutes left to go in that one. Ole Miss and LSU. This is a good ball game, and I did not see this coming. LSU has really struggled in conference play, but you know how it is playing conference basketball on the road. It is tough. That home team really has an edge, and that is the case right now for LSU. 57-53. They went off as 5.5, 6-point dogs. Ole Miss got some late money in this one too. And LSU is now an in-game favorite, a 3.5-point favorite are the Bayou Bengals with under 8 minutes left to go in that one. We've got Arizona hosting Texas Tech coming up in about 15 minutes from Tucson. That is a dandy in the Big 12. Arizona opened up as a 2.5-point favorite. I saw it up to 3.5 earlier today, and I agree with that side. I have not bet the game. I don't really want to play it at a bad number, but I do think Arizona comes away with a victory. If I could still get the 2.5, I just might do so. George, let's get back into some of the big game preview here from a prop standpoint. And I want to ask you about a couple here that I wrote down. I quizzed these on Adam last week. Some interesting ones that I think, provoke a lot of thought and involve a real handicap here, and not necessarily am I going to bet them one way or another, but I do believe that they provoke discussion. And we talked about this one a little bit earlier. We were talking with Adam Chernoff, it was Sia Najad, who really liked all of the Xavier Worthy props, basically thinking he was going to have a big impact in this game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you brought it up. Longest reception by Xavier Worthy, 19.5 yards. I saw this open up at 20.5 yards. So maybe people are betting the under a little bit. But I think this is a really tough one to call. CJ spelled it out, or Sia rather, spelled it out how they oftentimes throw to him in the flat, right along the line of scrimmage, put a few blockers in front of him and see how far he can run. And I could see one of those going for 20 yards. I could also see one not going for 20. What are your thoughts on this prop? This is a tough one to call, in my opinion.
I took this prop, took the over. All right, that's why I brought it up to see you earlier for a couple of reasons. Now, you sort of mentioned the reasons. We've seen the maturation of Xavier Worthy as the season has rolled on, right? The first 6, 8, 10 games, he was a deep threat, right? Mahomes is going to put it up to him deep. See what happens. He catches the ball. I think that's going to happen here as well. He's going to get a deep shot or two. Maybe he catches it, maybe he doesn't. But we've also seen him become more of their number one wide receiver the last couple of weeks, where he is the guy. Now, listen, I'm not saying he's Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. He's not. Of course, he's not at that level yet. But for the Chiefs, he is that guy. And what did Sia say? And I agree. He might catch 5, 6, 7 passes. Well, you already mentioned it. I only need him to take one of those passes 20 yards. One missed tackle, and I can get my 20. I'm not looking for a touchdown. I'm not looking for an 80-yard play. I'm just looking for 20. So I'm looking for here. And I said they made him part of that. He's going to get his deep shots. I have no doubt they're going to throw one up to him. And I just need him to break one tackle to get above that 20 yards. So, yes, I am on Xavier Worthy getting his longest reception being more than 19.5 yards.
Okay, here's one for you on the Philadelphia side. Jalen Hurts has not thrown an interception in 7 of his career 8 playoff games. So only one playoff game in which he has thrown an interception. He's had 8 career playoff games. He has not thrown an interception in 7 of those. So here's the prop. Will Jalen Hurts throw an interception? The yes is plus 150. The no is minus 170. What do you do with that one?
First, by the way, Sharks and Stars, if you played the over in this game, congratulations. You got 3 goals in the first couple of minutes. Oh my God.
Holy cow.
Not much defense going on here. 2-1 San Jose Sharks here. As your Stars just scored their first goal of the game. Nothing the goalie could do was deflect it in. But if I said 3 goals in the first 4 minutes of play, you got the over.
The in-game total is now 8.5.
Minus 170.
I think I would want to immediately play the under, George. This is that classic in-game scenario, right? All of a sudden you get that big line that jumps out. Bam, now it's time to go under.
Yeah, I didn't see the first 2 goals. So I don't know if they were fluky goals as well, or the goalie still on it. But I mentioned a lot of these guys, they're going on vacation after this game, right? They may not care as much. Maybe not going to block a shot.
That's a concern, too, because it's like they're already half checked out, maybe. And maybe that's not the right time to, go the traditional in-game pattern. If the scoring goes crazy early, you want to play that under. If it's really slow to begin and that number comes crashing down, that's an opportunity to play the over. That's kind of traditional in-game betting thinking. But you bring up a good point. If these guys are already halfway on vacation, maybe this game gets out of hand throughout the entire time, not just early.
Yeah. So, but if I was, I'm not going to take the in game. But if I was, it would be the under. No way, I'm not playing minus 170 and hope they get to 9. No, I would take the under as well. I take the plus money there. So it's one way to look at it here. And I also want to equate the football. You all know football plays at the end of the season. Those receivers sometimes they have alligator arms when you're not playing for anything because you don't want to get hurt. Same thing here. These guys, like I said, maybe going to Aruba or the Caribbean, wherever, Hawaii. Maybe you don't want to block that shot. Go down and take that puck off the knee and whatever it is, and have a nice big, be lipping for your little vacation there. So it's just something to think about.
Well, the Stars and the Sharks, 3 points already on the board, 2-1 in favor of the San Jose Sharks as a big home dog here. Just underway, about 5 minutes in, about 15 minutes left in that first period in San Jose. Now, of course, we were rudely interrupted by all the scoring there in San Jose in the Shark Tank, George. We've got to get to our Jalen Hurts question. We will do that on the other side. Again, Jalen Hurts, very efficient in his playoff career so far, has not thrown an interception in 7 of his career 8 playoff games. We'll see what George's thoughts are on if he will throw one on Sunday in New Orleans when we come back.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back, and we now have plenty of time to get to that Jalen Hurts question. George, we were discussing it in the segment prior, going through a few interesting prop bets here that I think are thought-provoking. Whether you like one side or the other, I just think they make you think about the handicap, and obviously the price is a huge part of these equations. Maybe that's, I don't know if that's the biggest thing all the time, but it seems like with prop bets, it's so much about the price. You feel things are obviously going to happen or not going to happen. And, sometimes, like I was saying earlier, you have to lay a big price, but sometimes the price is too big. It's all a part of the handicap, the ongoing racket that is sports betting. Welcome back to the program, In-Game Live Game Day. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz talking about Jalen Hurts and will he throw an interception in the big game on Sunday. The yes price that he will throw an interception, George, is plus money, plus 150. Not a bad return if he does happen to throw a pick. He is not a regular customer to do that, and that's why the no is minus 170. Which way do you go here?
Well, the way I think the game script is going to go here is I don't think Hurts is going to have to throw the ball that much. Like most of us, I think Barkley is going to be a big part of the game plan. And once again, once they want those safeties to creep down here and not lay back here. So I don't think he's going to be throwing the ball, 40 times. So that takes away his chances to throw an interception. Now, listen, an interception can happen anywhere, right? It could be tipped at the line of scrimmage, and there it is. It can be bounced over a receiver's hand. Those are all interceptions. They all blame the quarterback for them. So it certainly could happen, but I'm not going to bet on it. I'm going to leave this one alone. Like I said, I have 31, I think 33. I think I put a couple more in during the show. So I have 33 prop bets right now. I don't know. I have him at home throwing an interception because I think he's going to throw the ball 40 plus times. I think there's a better chance for him to throw a pick. Hurts, listen, he's not as good a quarterback as Mahomes. It could certainly happen, but as of right now, I do not have that, and I don't think I'm going to be changing my mind on that. Not in the next 20 hours, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's not that Patrick Mahomes is prone to throwing interceptions or anything like that. I think it's exactly what you're talking about. He's going to be we believe he's going to have far more attempts than Jalen Hurts. And you're right. So you give yourself more probability, the more possible chances that he could throw one to the other team. And like you say, bounce off a helmet, this and that and the other. More chances for random, occurrences as well. So I didn't play that one, but I know some smart people that have, and I tend to agree with you there. I'd rather play Mahomes than Hurts to throw a pick. And I'm not going to bet the no on Jalen Hurts too, because it's too easy to happen. It could happen. Absolutely. How about another one here that I think I know your answer. And I imagine the price has been bet down, because it seems like it should. If you like the Eagles, Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown and the Eagles win the game. Both of those things have to happen. plus 150. Saquon Barkley scores a touchdon and the Eagles win the football game, plus 150. You going down that street?
I love this question because something we haven't talked about tonight, right? I mentioned earlier, I think Jalen Hurts scores a touchdown. All right, push, he's getting it, and the price is right. The only reason I didn't bet Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown is because it's at minus 185. At least that's what it was pre-show. It might have gone up or down since then. So I think the way that you attack Barkley scoring a touchdown is to parlay it. And I love your parlay. I think the Eagles are going to win. So if I think the Eagles are going to win, I already got that bet. I think Barkley's going to score a touchdown. Yeah, plus 150, love it. All right, absolutely love it here. I think there is more risk in this one. That's obviously why it's a parlay and you're getting a better price. But there's always a chance Barkley doesn't score. I do think the Chiefs are going to game plan to stop him. And it's annoying that at the 1 yard line, it's going to be a touch. You need A.J. Brown to go out at the 3. All right, and then we give it to Barkley. All right, it's really what you need. Because I don't think they're going to be able to stop the tush push. I don't see that happening at all. I just don't. No team has. I mentioned the numbers here. During the season, they were 80% on the tush push. In the playoffs, they're 5 of 6. I don't care that the Chiefs were really good at stopping Josh Allen last week. I think Asia brought it up. That's apples and oranges. Josh Allen does a regular quarterback sneak. This is the tush push. No one stops this. At least they don't stop it over and over again. And I think the Eagles, they'd enjoy displaying it. And I think, by the way, after what happened against the Washington Commanders, where they almost awarded them a touchdown, it wouldn't surprise me if the NFL takes a closer look at this to try and either make it more difficult or get rid of it next year. I think the Eagles may have screwed themselves by the idiotic thing that happened against Washington, where they're going to make the NFL take a little closer look at trying. I don't want to say ban it. I don't think it should be banned, but I wonder if something's going to happen next year.
All right, very good. Well, I've got another one that is on the same exact lines as this one, but I'm going to flip it over a little bit to the other side and see if you like the thought of this one. I think you could possibly bet both of them, maybe, and kind of hedge with yourself a little bit. We'll get to that in just a moment as we continue to cover the big game coming up on the eve of Super Bowl 59.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live game day here on a Saturday evening as we continue to break down Super Bowl 59. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you. Thank you again to all of our fantastic guests. Cam Stewart helped kick off the show. Then we had Gam Blue, got some UFC insights. One of his big plays, he really liked that ladies fight, Weili Zhang, who is now flipped to an underdog. That was, I believe, his favorite play of the evening, and that main card is now underway. That is the co-main event coming up from Australia a little bit later this evening. Then, of course, Sia Najad of CBS Sports joined us, and finally Adam Chernoff of Right Angle Sports. And we've got one more before we're done here. Julio Rosero will join us as we wrap up the show. He'll come on in about a half an hour from now, and we'll get his thoughts on the big game and anything else. You know this guy. He appears regularly with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart on Thursday evenings on the grid, and the man likes to bet. So I imagine he's rivaling Cam Stewart for how many plays he's currently got in pocket. All right, George, we talked about in the last segment the prop bet where it's kind of a parlay, a built-in parlay. Saquon Barkley scores a touchdown and the Eagles win the game. You can get that happening at plus 150. I think you could actually bet this one too and possibly make money either way. And that is Travis Kelce scores a touchdown and the Chiefs win the football game and the price is plus 260. It feels like if the Eagles are going to win, Barkley's going to get a TD, right? If the Chiefs win, Kelce's going to get a TD, right? I mean, it almost feels like either one could cash for you.
I mean, Kelce getting a touchdown is not the biggest lock, even if they win the game. I think he does have to get one for them to win. I do. But
right.
I'm on Philadelphia, so I'm not – that's hedging. I'd be hedging, and I don't want to hedge. Not yet. All right. I said it's in the back of my mind. I bet on Philadelphia and probably had a lot of these same props of 2 years ago. All right, and that didn't come through. And I thought the same way back then. I thought they were the better team or the hotter team. I forget what the exact situation was there. So, I am heavy on Philadelphia. I know that. And you got you thinking, though, 260 is a good price. This way I'll be covered either way. He probably does have to score. Yeah. It's interesting to take it. But no, I'm not going to because I don't think this is like, I think Philly wins. I think Philly wins. I feel pretty good about that. I think Philly wins here. This is not a team that hasn't been there. I don't think they're going to get nervous. I don't think they're going to make mistakes. They were there 2 years ago. And the big reason they lost because that one fumble by Jalen Hurts was, it was a screwed up play there. I don't think that happens again. The penalty there down low as well. No, I'm pretty strong on Philadelphia. I'm not going to take any. I'll call that a hedge bet. I'm not going to take any hedge bets.
Well, I told you these were thought provoking, and I think both of those are very interesting. They're good bets that you kind of have to consider. Both scenarios seem very, very possible. By the way, back to your hockey game here. Another goal for the Dallas Stars, and this game is tied at 2. I'm glad we didn't bet under 8.5. Now the in-game total is at 9.5. 7 minutes left in the first period. I would still be inclined to take the under, George, but now you're paying a ton of juice, and this is kind of crazy. Minus 180. I don't know. It seems like why wouldn't you just hang it at 9? I guess they have to put a hook on there. I don't know. That's a tough one. But like you said, with these guys maybe halfway out the door on vacation with this break that they're taking in the NHL, who knows? Maybe we get 10, 11 goals in this one, George. Let me go another direction here in the prop market. We've talked about Harrison Butker. We've talked about Jake Elliott. You tend to think he's probably not going to miss a field goal. We're indoors. Harrison Butker, we both think, is going to probably kick multiple field goals in this game. You think he's going to kick one from distance. How about this? First score of the game. The first score of the game is a touchdown at minus 160. Anything else? Safety, field goal, plus 140. What do you do with that one?
I'll take the plus 140. I'll always take the field with these kind of bets here. And I actually think the first score, is going to be a field goal anyway. Like I said it earlier in the show. I'm pretty sure it was the show, that I want the first score to be a field goal for Kansas City. All right, because then I'm going to get a better price on the Eagles, and I'm going to go back in game on the Eagles. Is what I want to do here. So I think the first score is going to be a field goal. I already have that bet, by the way. First score a field goal, not specific to what team, just a field goal in general here, and then we'll take it from there. It's once again, there's no Brandon Aubrey's here. We're not going to get a 60-yarder here, but you're indoors in New Orleans. 55-yard is not out of the realm of possibility for Butker. It might be for Elliott. Elliott has the leg. It's just his accuracy hasn't been on this season for whatever reason. But I think a lot of that's from playing outdoors. That being said, there'll be pressure on him as well. You can't tell me he doesn't know he hasn't hit a 50-yarder this year. So anything with a 5 in front of it's going to be a little nerve-wracking for him. So there is some worries there. But I think the first score of the game is a field goal.
I think this one is interesting, George, and it's also interesting to me why it's priced so much different than the other one. And I agree with you. I think it seems like we've seen so many times this season, and they got a little bit better later in the year. But for the most part, the Chiefs were not a great team in the red zone, and they settled for a lot of Harrison Butker field goals. And it just feels like if they get the ball first, that's probably, going. It's what I envision happening again, is that the Eagles defense will stiffen up in the red zone, and they'll be forced into a field goal attempt. Now, the last score of the game, okay, touchdown minus 210, expensive. That's the book is telling you more often than not, the last score of the game is a touchdown. Anything else plus 180. But it seems like, George, you've seen this movie 1,000 times in your head. It seems like what we've seen as of late in this Patrick Mahomes era is the Chiefs winning by the skin of their teeth with Butker hitting a field goal as time runs out, correct?
Once again, I'll play the field. Any kind of bets like that, I'm always going to play the field. I'll take anything else. Not that there are many other scores you can get there, but yeah, I'll take the field goal and hopefully Butker gets it. But this is more of it's not really a strategy here. It's more of a hope. What we think, what we hope is going to happen. It's not like I can't give you any analytics here to tell you why it's going to be. And by the way, stop me if you heard this before. The Dallas Stars have scored again. We now have 5 goals in the first 14 minutes of play. 3-2 Dallas.
And they still haven't moved the in-game total, at least. Well, the juice has changed. Now the under is plus money, plus 104 if you want to play under 9.5. That's amazing. It's starting to look like I should play the over here in game, George. 5 goals is really amazing. What do you think? I don't know if it's the best practice in the world to just play prop bets according to the way you see the game playing out. I think sometimes it's, helpful in your handicap, but I don't think you can just go down that road entirely with every prop bet you make. You have to consider prices. You have to consider matchups. It's a lengthy handicap. It's not just how you see the movie playing, but about this ending, the last score, how does that kind of play? I know you're heavy on Philadelphia. You think they're going to win the game. You like them at alternate spreads. You like them to win by margin. Does that kind of play into the last score of the game being a touchdown in your mind?
No, because you don't know. I mean, for all I know, the last score of the game is going to be a Jake Elliott field goal at the end of the third quarter. We don't know how it's going to play out, right? I don't think this game is going to be a high-scoring one either. I think it's going to be my final score is 24-20. So I think it's going to go under, which means I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring, period, as far as that's concerned here. So now 24-24, that's what, 5 touchdowns and 3 field goals, I think. Real quick math here. Pretty sure that's what it is. So, it's sort of a 50-50 chance that one could be a touchdown, could be a field goal at the end. But I don't think both these teams have been marching up and down the field. The defenses are too good for that. And it wouldn't shock me, by the way, if we get a lot more field goals and touchdowns. If both teams, specifically the Chiefs, they play that bend but don't break. Between the 20s, fine. Inside the 20, no. And therefore, that leads to more field goals and touchdowns.
Well, this leads me to my next question. And I by what you're saying, I believe you would go under. Total touchdowns by both teams. And this is a pick 'em. It's minus 110 either way. The number is, 5.5. I'm going to have to hold you over, my friend. We're running out of time here. Stick on that one for a minute. We'll be back in just a moment.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into In-Game Live Game Day here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you, taking a look at the action on the ice. Another goal between Dallas and San Jose, 3-2. Now in favor of the Dallas Stars, and still 2 minutes left in the first period. The in-game total has not changed. The price has. 9.5 is the number. If you like the under, it's down to minus 130. But George, this is kind of maybe a little handicapping tip to file away for next season, I guess. These games before this break where guys maybe, they're halfway checked out. They've got half a foot out the door on vacation before they have this break coming up. There's a lot of goals being scored tonight. If you played the over on the Grand Salami, I think you've already hit 7-3, the Hurricanes over the Hockey Club. Lightning 6-3 over the Red Wings. 4-3, the Vegas Golden Knights over the Bruins. 6-5, the Blues and the Blackhawks. That was a shootout there. 4-3, Rangers. You mentioned it, the Wild and the Islanders, 6-3. 6-4, Predators over the Sabres. The Kraken and Calgary not partaking in this. They still do not have any scores on the board with only 50 seconds left in the first period. But is that something that would make sense to you in kind of a macro handicap going forward, that, when we have these things, maybe it's true in the NBA, who knows, but I know, a hockey expert. Is that something you might make a note to yourself, for future opportunities?
We've talked about it during the week that this could happen tonight, where once again, you said it, teams are, I don't want to say checked out. I don't think that's fair, but maybe their mind's not fully on hockey. They know they're going. I said Hawaii, Caribbean, wherever they want to go. Maybe you want to go to the North Pole. You don't mind being cold, whatever. I want to be warm. All right. It's currently snowing here as I'm watching the inches pile up on my patio outside here. So I'd want to be warm here. But the point is, yeah, I don't think it's a surprise. We've talked about this before. The Four Nations Cup begins this week. It's just sort of the All-Star break. Same thing when teams go on the All-Star break. You worry about that last game. Teams or guys are already like, you know what, I'm out here. My bags are packed in the locker room. My plane is in 2 hours, whatever it might be. And, they're not fully focused on hockey. All right, or what's basketball, or baseball, whatever it might be. So I don't think I'm all that surprised. You mentioned the Grand Salami was almost certainly a winner with all these high-scoring games. And you said the Grand Salami reminds me of Dubs Anderson, right? Dubs is always a big Grand Salami guy. He loves his Grand Salami. So I guess if you play it tonight, good for you, Dubs. You're a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun bet. I've put some funny money on it before. It's definitely a fun way to keep track of hockey all night long. College basketball, these games have tightened up. Ole Miss and LSU are tied at 70, and I'm not positive this could be the end of regulation. We may be headed to overtime in Baton Rouge, and this would be crushing if LSU is not able to hold on to a victory here. They've lost 5 in a row. They had Ole Miss all night long. They've led the entire time, and now I'm showing this game is tied. I'm not sure if they are at the end of regulation. I believe there's a chance they are. 59 seconds left, just under a minute left in Fayetteville, and Arkansas getting back into this one with Alabama. They were behind by as many as 20 points. It is now 83-78, and Bama basically where they started, a 4.5-point favorite now in the live market. All right, George, back to the prop that I gave you there when we ran out of time in the segment prior. You were talking about a final score, your prediction, 24-20 in favor of Philadelphia, and you kind of spelled it out, this many touchdowns, this many field goals, might be more field goals than touchdowns. The prop bet here in town, and I'm sure, again, it's popular everywhere, total touchdowns by both teams, the number is 5.5. Do you want to go over or under 5.5 touchdowns?
I think that number is right. All right. Obviously, 24-20 likely means I have 5 touchdowns. I think it's theoretically they could have missed an extra point at 6 touchdowns. But either way, it's right at the number. And generally, if I'm right at the number, Brady, I'm not betting. Right? It's too close. The margin's too close there. It means I'm not, I don't love it. So no, I'm going to leave it alone. If you were forced me to bet it, this is the weird thing. Listen, most of us like overs, right? Overs are more fun, because you can cash, early when the game ends, right? You can get your 6th touchdown in the third quarter. Hey, cashed. I don't have to wait till the end here. If I was to bet this, and I'm not, but if I was, it would likely be the over, as far as touchdowns are concerned here, because this hasn't happened in a while, but I do remember the days where it seemed like all Super Bowls were blowouts, because once a team got down, they were taking chances. Those chances wouldn't pay off, and here we go. Pick sixes, fumble returns, or silly things like that that give the chance for the team that's in the lead to score even more here. So as much as I'm playing the under, that 24-20 score is it's just what's going through my head. Matter of fact, the funny thing is, if you watch Carver and Lisi, and I cover for Lisi on Tuesdays, each one of us, and we didn't know, we didn't talk. I swear to God, we didn't talk to each other. Each one of us picked a final score of 24-20 Philadelphia.
Wow, that's interesting. Very good. I could see that scenario playing out as well. What do you do with these here? I have played the first half under. Okay, first half under 24. I had to lay a little bit of juice there, minus 120. I believe, we talked about the first drive, the first score likely being a field goal. We believe that to be true. I think there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out period. Typically you don't get these guys, starting off at 100 miles an hour. There's a little bit of some nerves and there's a little, it's a popular bet. Will there be a score in the first 5.5 minutes? Will there be a score in the first 6.5 minutes? And a lot of times the no is the favorite. So what do you think about this popular prop bet? And this is bet by a lot of professionals. The second half will have more scoring than the first half. Would you bet the yes on that or no?
I bet the yes. Once again, I think teams figure each other out, right? The first 15 plays are scripted. If the script is working, fantastic. If not, no, not so much. And what about the Eagles all season long? They've had trouble scoring in the first quarter. It's been something that's been bothering all season long. Better of late. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely better of late over the playoffs, maybe the last couple of weeks of the regular season here. But it seems like in a lot of NFL games, there's always more scoring in the second half than the first. And part of that is because, hey, if you're trailing, got to open it up. Better chance to score for both teams.
Well, and also you mentioned the Eagles being sluggish in the first quarter. They've been outstanding in the fourth quarter. So I think that lends itself to betting that popular or that particular prop bet to the yes. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into in-game live game day here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you talking Super Bowl 59. A great week for SportsGrid down in the Big Easy, covering it from top to bottom in New Orleans. And finally, we are here on the eve of the big game, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs at the Superdome in New Orleans. They will kick it off at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. The 59th edition of the Super Bowl. I am looking forward to it. By the way, I believe Ole Miss, Jamin Brakefield, I believe he got a rebound and a putback layup at the buzzer to beat LSU 72-70. I was trying to find the timeline of how this happened. I saw 70-70, but they didn't show me how much time was left in the game. Maybe there was a review, something going on like that. But I'm looking here, trying to find the scenario of how this happened, and just brutal for LSU because they led the entire time. They went off as 6-point underdogs. They've lost 5 games in a row. They're 1-8 in conference, and they were leading a top 25 team in the Rebels of Ole Miss this entire contest, and it looks like they just let it slip away in the end. Apparently a buzzer beater from Jamin Brakefield to give Ole Miss the victory, 72-70 over LSU. And the final seconds ticking away in Fayetteville as well. Arkansas off of a couple big wins last week. The first one with Kentucky at Rupp Arena, Calipari going back home and getting that victory. But it looks like the party may have stopped here at home. Those 2 wins, by the way, they got last week were both on the road. They return home here in the role of an underdog and the third-ranked team in the country, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, looking like they're going to get it done. It's a 3-point game with 3 seconds left in regulation. Alabama up 84-81. All right, George. So talking prop bets here for the big game. We've gone over, the side and the total, and even our guest Adam Chernoff. I don't necessarily disagree with him. It's kind of a tough bet as far as the side and the total. It's so evenly matched. The point spread, obviously, it's not like you're getting 7.5 and you can really dive deep into, boy, that's a lot of points. It's a pick-up. Who do you think's going to win is kind of what it comes down to here. But obviously we can dive into the thousands of options we have on the proposition bet menu. I mentioned no score in the first 5.5 minutes. What do you think there? This one, it's a favorite, -150. No score in the first 5.5 minutes of the game. I know you're leaning towards the under. You figured there would be more scoring in the second half than the first half. Do we get the first 5.5 minutes of the game with nothing but goose eggs on the scoreboard?
I wouldn't bet this. I see who gets the ball first. I think if Kansas City gets it first, then I would like that bet. If Philadelphia, I said, I want Kansas City to get the ball first, score a field goal. But I keep getting the feeling that I'm going to get the opposite. That Philadelphia is going to win the I guess, lose the opening toss, get the ball first, and they're going to kick the field goal. So that's just what's going through my head for some reason. I don't know why here. And so like I said, if Kansas, this is more of a game time bet. I did not have this currently. It's not one of my 33. So if Kansas City gets the first, sure, I'm good with that. Hopefully they go on a little longer drive here and keep the ball away from Philadelphia for a little bit. But if Philadelphia gets it first, no thank you.
George, you have talked about it a few different times and a few different ways on the show that you believe the Philadelphia Eagles will, Jalen Hurts will score a touchdown. They're going to get a successful tush push, kind of alluding to the fact that Philadelphia will successfully convert a fourth down. And you've got to pay through the roof for that, because I know everybody in the world understands the same thing that you and I do with the success of the tush push and everything that surrounds that. How about the other side? Do you think Kansas City will successfully convert a fourth down? If you think the answer is yes, you've got to lay minus 160.
I do. I think they'll convert a fourth down as well here. I can't say it's a different game than what you and I grew up with, right? It's changed a lot over the past 5 years, but changed the past 5-10 years, and now it's crazier now. You don't want to give it's almost like a shock, 4th and 2 from your own 40 up. You punted 4th and 2. Really? It's like you're just caught off guard here. A lot of it could be games, and how the game's going here. But once again, I think both teams are going to convert. I'm certainly higher on Philadelphia converting than I am Kansas City, but I think they will as well.
Also, I want to ask you about the Mahomes pass attempts. And we were talking with Adam Chernoff earlier. He likes going the completion route rather than the attempts route. We've all talked about the fact that we think Patrick Mahomes is going to have to throw the ball often in this game. And again, I can extend this one over to the other side here as we're coming up against a break. A couple of college basketball updates for you. St. Mary's leading Oregon State 30-19. San Diego State and Colorado State tied at 27 up in Fort Collins. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The big college basketball game of the evening has tipped off down in Tucson, Arizona. A couple of very good teams that I think are both going to make some noise when we get to the NCAA tournament in March. I do have a future play on the Arizona Wildcats and kind of wish I had one on the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, but the word's out. This team's pretty good, and their price has come down quite a bit, especially after a recent win over the Houston Cougars. But right now, Texas Tech trailing Arizona 17-12, just over 12 minutes left in the first half there. Texas Tech handed Arizona a loss earlier this season down in Lubbock, but now here in Tucson, Arizona went off as a 3.5-point favorite. And again, they currently are in the lead 17-12. They are a 5.5-point favorite in the live market. The total right about where it was at close, 150.5, your live total in this college basketball contest. All right, George, back to the question that I asked you there at the end of the last segment, and that was Mahomes' pass attempts over 36.5. We have both illustrated that we think, there's not a lot of running game, not a lot of threat of a running game, in our opinion, for the Kansas City Chiefs. We believe that the magician himself is going to have to orchestrate another Super Bowl victory through the air. Adam Chernoff, our guest earlier, thinks that comes in the way of completions. I think it was over 23.5. What about attempts, or do you have a preference between the two bets, or do you like them both?
I'm on both already. Said that earlier in the show. I have everything Pat Mahomes. All right, anything Pat Mahomes related, I have. I just think they're not going to be able to run the ball, at least not with much success. And I think Andy Reid's going to be real tired of second and 8 when they try and run the ball on first down. This has to be a Pat Mahomes game. I got it at 35.5. So I took this bet, I guess about 10 days ago.
I think that's probably, that's about the best number, I think. It could be 39 for all I know by now.
I think earlier today I did check. It was still 36.5. Okay. Just the giggles so it hasn't jumped up that much. Listen, this is why you shop early, right? It's always tough to see when you go early because you're sort of betting that the price is going to get worse for me. I like to think usually I'm right, but sometimes I'm wrong. Like I said, I thought the Jalen Hurts, the reason I jumped on his anytime touchdown, I thought it was minus 115 when I took it, and I thought, that's going to get much worse. I ended up going down to minus 110 at one time that I saw. Now it's back up to minus 115 again here. So like I said, I am on all sorts of Mahomes props. Over 23.5 completions. Over 35.5 attempts here. I think he gets over his rushing yards of 28.5. If he's going to be back there 40-plus times to throw the football, he's going to have to run sometimes. All right, because the pressure's going to be there. I don't think that Kansas City offensive line can hold up against that Philadelphia offensive line, which means I think we're going to get some sacks. All right, so I think he's going to get sacked. I want Jalen Carter, a standout Philadelphia defensive lineman, to get a sack here. Now, you want to be a little wary of that. The Philadelphia defensive line, they have had the little flu going through them this week. I think they're all going to be fine by tomorrow, by the way. But once again, may want to keep, maybe they'll rotate those guys out more than they normally would here to keep them fresh. That could hurt by Jalen Carter attempts to get a sack here. But that being said, I think he gets it here. And I want Pat Mahomes to throw an interception. It may not be his fault. Like I said, deflection off of a lineman. One of his receivers bounces off their hand. So we see this all the time here. So the only thing I'm not on Pat Mahomes to do is throw two plus touchdowns. Once again, 20-14 means I only have Kansas City probably scoring 2 touchdowns. I don't know if he's going to get both those. So I don't. That's the only prop I think I don't have on Pat Mahomes.
Well, I think you definitely got the best of the number there as far as the Patrick Mahomes attempts at 35.5. And you said earlier today, just ticking up to 36. I'm sure a lot of activity happened today at sports books around the country, and you'll probably get even more. I mean, I think bookmakers out here in Las Vegas will tell you that 80% of the action comes in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. So we probably still have a long way to go here before kickoff. But I think even Sunday morning, you're really going to see some activity in these prices and these numbers with some movement because the public is going to get heavily involved. And I wonder if you subscribe to the theory, our second guest of the evening, Lou Finicaro, touched on it, betting these excuse me, betting these prop bets early, like you did, if you want to get a good number, or waiting until the very end where that number has gotten out of whack. Like what if, Mahomes is now at 39 or something? You could possibly even get a middle, George. Do you subscribe to that theory? Like the worst time to bet prop bets is smack dab in the middle of that 2-week period. You either really want to get on it early or wait until the very end.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works out. All right. For me, it was just how I think the game was going to go. All right. And I really thought, Hunt, Pacheco, they're not going to be able to run the ball against Philadelphia. It's not going to happen. All right. So it's going to have to be a Pat Mahomes day. 35 wasn't really asking all that much. Like I said, it's only gone up to 36.5. I'm trying to look at an updated number, see if it's gone any further. Don't see it yet, so we'll have to check out later. And 23.5, if I think he's going to throw the ball, I think he's going to go way over 35, but I think he's going to get 40, close to 40. So 23 is not asking all that much. 24 to get that over properly with the completions as well here. So I don't think I'm asking all that much. I just think they're going to use the run game or the running backs with Pat Mahomes throwing passes to him out of the backfield as an extension of the run. So if you can't run the ball against that Philadelphia line, well, we'll throw a little flare out of the backfield to Pacheco, a little flare out of the backfield to Kareem Hunt. And that's how we'll get our 4 or 5 yards to make it 2nd and 5, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm sort of betting on there. Easy completions. When you look at it, Pat Mahomes, he doesn't throw the ball really into the secondary or deep all that much. He's one of the worst. The Kansas City offense is one of the worst in the NFL at throwing the ball deep. It's not what they do. They don't have the receivers to do that. Everything is shorter. So I think that helps our chances for, once again, the attempts and the completions.
All right, very good. Well, let's bring in another voice here and get his thoughts. It's Julio Rosero. You hear him here with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart during the week. He is a professional handicapper and media reporter. You can find him on Twitter at JN Reports. Julio, thank you so much for joining us. You caught a little bit of the conversation there talking about Patrick Mahomes, our theory on how he's going to, be effective in this game or lack thereof or what have you. I'll just start with, what is your overall opinion on this game, just from a side and total perspective? We'll get into the props in a minute, but what is your vision for how you see this game playing out with Kansas City and Philadelphia on Sunday?
I appreciate you guys having me on. Happy Super Bowl Eve, and I'm sure some of the audience is also watching the UFC fights going on. So hopefully everyone's doing well as we close out this Saturday night. When the line first came out, I loved Kansas City initially, still love them. Now the question is, as you were mentioning, Brady, what's the action going to look like tomorrow morning at some of these big books, whether it's Circa in Las Vegas or in Iowa or in Colorado or in Illinois where they're located now, or even in Kentucky. BetCris making their first Super Bowl in Arizona. What are some of these big books who are going to take bigger action as we hit tomorrow morning? Will we see a flip with Philadelphia maybe being the favorite going into kickoff? But at -1, love that number, so I'll take Kansas City. And at 48.5, I think both teams can get us to 25 points. So I like the over, but strong with Kansas City -1.
Nice. Julio, you're the first person tonight to take Kansas City, which I kind of like because it scared me that everyone and their mother's taking Philadelphia here. One of my favorite bets of the game. I keep saying that I just don't – Kansas City can certainly win. You don't make money betting against Pat Mahomes, betting against Andy Reid. Andy Reid's numbers coming off any kind of breaker, like what was it? He wins 80% of the time. It's nuts. He's that good when he gets the extra time here. I guess we'll get back to this at the end of the break. We only have 30 seconds here, so I don't want to get into anything. But I think Pat Mahomes has to have a big game here, Julio, for him to have any chance to win tomorrow.
Without a doubt. I mean, 24.5 completions. I love what you were talking about earlier, George, and I like that play as well for Pat Mahomes tomorrow.
All right, we'll get more from Julio on the other side. By the way, Matthews defeats Prado, the first match in that UFC 312 in Australia.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. It is the final hour of in-game live game day here. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you, and we continue on with Julio Rosero. And I know, Julio, in the last segment, we cut you a little short there with your thoughts on George's question. And you're right. You're the first guy that we've had on the program tonight that has gone the other way, taking the Chiefs side, favoring that Chiefs side a little more so than you do the Eagles. And before we get into your expansion on your answer there as well, one of our guests is kind of not really doing much with the side, if anything, because it's such a tough matchup. You know, you're really left with a situation where you just have to pick the winner of the game. There's, I think the handicap out there is similar for everybody. We believe this team is better, but we believe this team has the better coach and better quarterback. And take your pick. I mean, do you kind of see it that way as well?
Yeah, I agree, Brady. I mean, if you're just strictly looking at the price, the Eagles are the play. If you shop around, if you look for the best money line number, the Eagles at even money is very enticing at some shops. If you can get a better price, dive in feet first with that. So, but I just like Kansas City. Going for 3 in a row, given the course of the season where a lot of their games weren't pretty, but they were still coming up with ways to win the game. And I know, good teams win, great teams cover, but when you're coming off 2 consecutive years of playing into February, your body's not truly 100% when you start training camp. I tip my cap for teams that continue to play well, win games, even when they're not pretty. So I kudos to Kansas City for doing that, and I think they pull another trick out of their hat tomorrow and pull out the victory somehow, some way. But if I had to go with price, why not try to take both sides? If you're trying to be a little greedy and selfish, take the Eagles pregame. If they score first, get a better price with Kansas City in the live market. But if you're going strictly pregame, for me, I'll just take the -1 and cross my fingers.
And one thing I totally agree with is you said they'll pull out another trick. And I know you may not have meant this, but we saw that at the last, pretty much the last play of the Buffalo game, right, where Spagnuolo threw a blitz that Buffalo no one had ever seen, right? It caught them completely off guard here. It brings me to one of the prop bets I want to make. I should say I want to make. I have made it. That there will be more than 2 people to throw a pass in the game. So we know Mahomes and Hurts will, just somebody else. I don't care if it's a punter, a player, whatever it might be. And I think this has to be Kansas City. I think they'll be the team, Julio, that, looks for, whether it's a halfback pass or Xavier Worthy on that run around. We all know it's coming, but he'll throw instead of running it here. Do you believe in bets like this? I mean, like I said, it's the last football game of the season. All right, I'm the first person to tell you I have way too many prop bets. All right, it's the last football game. I'm going to have some fun with this. And one of the ones I do like, though, is, like I said, more than 2 plays to throw a pass.
It just depends on the price. If you break it down as well as you just did, George, with Kansas City, maybe even Carson Wentz comes in for some sort of odd play midway through the first half or in the second half if needed, right? With Andy Reid, I would not be surprised. So I guess it just comes down to the price. If the price entices you, absolutely take it. So, but I like that way of thinking, George. And if anyone does it in the Super Bowl, it's going to be a guy like Andy Reid.
Julio, I want to ask you, if you're siding with the Kansas City side here in this game to come out victorious, what do you do with Saquon Barkley? What do you envision happening? What kind of game do you think he has, and how do you treat him in the proposition betting market? A couple of popular bets on Saquon Barkley are under his longest rush. I've seen some very sharp bettors bet under 25.5 yards for the longest rush out of Saquon Barkley. Would you agree with that? And then also, I think a very interesting bet on his very first rushing attempt of the game, under or over 3.5 yards. Now, the over is the favorite at -130, but the under is +110. So there's two examples for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those and overall what you think. If you side with Kansas City, how do they stop that guy in the Eagles' backfield?
That's an interesting bet that I didn't see at some of my shops. Total first rushing play for Barkley. You always got to credit the offensive line too on some of those plays. So I'd be intrigued to take the over on that market. Saquon's was my biggest question as I started searching the props. So the only proposition I took was Saquon to score a touchdown in the first half. I don't like the full game number. Some places have it at $2 or higher, but plus 145 for Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown in the first half is what I took. That was the only prop I have for Saquon Barkley. So if you think he's going to have a good game, he's going to need to score or at least put himself in a position to score in the first half. So plus 145 was a nice addition to my shopping cart.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I love that bet because I stayed away from.
Yeah, it makes some sense, doesn't it? I like that, Julio, as well.
Right, much better number than I think about -185 was the list I saw here for an anytime touchdown for Barkley because I have that in a parlay going on here. Julio, real quick, we got about a minute here. We'll stay with the same sort of talk here. I think we all know that it's going to be a big Barkley game. He's had a fantastic season, but maybe the Philadelphia Eagles try and be a little cute on the first play of the game. Do a little play action. What I'm going at is maybe they throw the ball first play of the game and not run the ball. Any interest in this market?
I guess I haven't seen the prices on that, George, but with the Super Bowl, you get 2 weeks now, right? It used to be just 1 week going into the Super Bowl, so it wouldn't surprise me if offensive coaches try to get cute or try to do a different variation of how they script the first 15 to 20 plays. So I kind of like where you're going there, George.
Yeah, that's obviously kind of a novelty one. I think it's hard to handicap that type of thing. What should the price be? I mean, that's more of the one you do for fun. That when they do have that first play, you cheer or you tear up your ticket for sure. We'll come back more with Julio on the other side. Stick around.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to In-Game Live Game Day as we prepare you more so for Super Bowl 59. I think, what is it, George, under 19 hours from kickoff now or so, something like that. I leave the math up to you, my friend.
I think it's 19 even, right? That's 11, so that's 12 and 7. Yeah, it's 19, about 19 even now. Is
all right, a good
will start.
Good guess on my part. Want to go over some college basketball scores real quick. St. Mary's right now, no problem in Corvallis with the Beavers of Oregon State, 45-27. 12 minutes left to go in the second half there. Good game between the Rams and the Aztecs. Colorado State leading San Diego State 38-37, just underway in the second half from Fort Collins. And the real big one on the late night schedule in the Big 12 after dark. Arizona leading Texas Tech by 3 points, 27-24. About 4.5 minutes left in the first half there. The in-game price, Arizona minus 4.5. Your totals come down a little bit. The in-game total now at 145.5. We continue with Herlio Ricero, a common guest here weekly with Gabe and Cam on Sports Rage Late Night, filling in or helping us out here a little bit on the weekend. We certainly appreciate the time. We were getting into some prop bets and that type of thing, Julio. And I just want to throw it over to you. You mentioned, an anytime touchdown from Saquon Barkley in the first half, which is a nice plus price. What are a few more that you have in pocket that you can share with us?
Yeah, that's the big thing, Brady. Last football game of the season, I learned a hard lesson a couple of Super Bowls ago where Gabe always calls me Big Card Julio, sorry. So I tried to throw a bunch at one particular Super Bowl, a whole bunch of darts, and it kind of bit me in the rear. So I've got a decent card, but not as many as others would like to have during the Super Bowl. But I'm targeting some good plus numbers. And I'm looking specifically at the first half for my touchdown score. So I mentioned Saquon Barkley anytime in the first half at plus 145. Strictly a numbers play. Would rather play that than feeling like I would need to parlay it with something to get it to a plus number. So I took that. Travis Kelce, first half, anytime touchdown at plus 325. Obviously, shop around if you want to find the better number. I just feel A.J. Brown is going to have, I'm not going to say a great game, but I think if the Eagles want to win this game, they're going to need A.J. Brown in some capacity. So I think if he can score in the first half, it's plus 450. Love that. So I'm taking A.J. Brown anytime in the first half at plus 450. And I do think if this game gets late with Kansas City up, Jalen Hurts is going to have to throw the ball. I think he throws an interception in this game, plus 110 for over half an interception for Jalen Hurts.
Very nice. Now, we talked to Cam earlier. Cam has 102 bets, he said, between tonight and tomorrow. I mean, I thought I went a little overboard. And I have 33, and I thought I was going a little crazy. But 102, my God. If anybody knew out there, that's not a great way to win money, by the way. You should really have probably closer to Julio's number than probably closer to Julio's than mine. But you said it's the last football game of the season. I'm going to have some fun. Do you have any novelty bets? I mean, true novelty bets. Are you betting how long the national anthem is going to be, the coin toss, whether Taylor Swift hugs somebody? I'm not even making this up. Whether she hugs somebody on air, whether or not she, how many times they show her on air tomorrow. Do you have any bets like this?
I don't, George. I would like to find a book or markets with that, but with all the bets in Colorado or even up in Wyoming, which is like 35 minutes from where I am, I couldn't find those bets, but those are very interesting ones. National anthem, I did see the price, and the wording was singing only. I would have taken it over if it would have meant plus music, because I would have expected a little jazz solo, but other than that, no novelty bets.
All right, Julio, would you mind sticking around for one more? Because I've got another question for you. Do you have a couple minutes for us? All right, very good.
Absolutely.
He is Julio Rosero. All right, very good. You got some UFC plays, right?
I do. Just one left in the card, but I do have a UFC.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's where I wanted to go. I know you're not just a football guy. You're dabbling in a lot of different sports, a lot of different markets. We spoke with Gamblu earlier, got one of his favorite plays for the main card, and it has not gone off yet. We'll see where you are with UFC 312 when we come back in just a moment.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back here the last 30 minutes or so of in-game live game day, previewing the Super Bowl. Brady Kannon with you, and George Kurtz and Julio Rosero, kind enough to stick around for another segment. We've dissected the Super Bowl here with you, Julio, pretty darn well. If you have anything else that we didn't cover, please let us know. But we want to move to the octagon here for just a moment. In Australia, by the way, I hope you had Teixeira over Tafa. That one looked very quick. An elbow and a knee, and Teixeira, the Brazilian, gets the victory over the, I believe, New Zealander is Tafa. Looks like 35 seconds into round one, believe it or not, a TKO. So that one did not last too long. But you've got now the main event, a co-main event, Suarez and Zhang, a ladies' bout there, a strawweight bout, and then you've got a middleweight bout, on the men's side with Duplessis and Strickland. So what's left here on the main card? Either of those bouts, do you have any action going?
Yeah, I'm gonna take over 3.5 rounds, minus 120, Weili Zhang and Tatiana Suarez, and we'll even throw a little bit on over 4.5 rounds at plus 115 in that fight. At the moment, nothing in the main events. I was thinking about playing the total rounds, but might stay away from that. But just left on my card is over 3.5, over 4.5, Weili Zhang, Tatiana Suarez.
Julio, I wonder if you have an opinion on one side or the other here. We were speaking with Lou Finicaro, who also appears weekly with Gabe and Cam. You've probably heard him on the network before, I'm sure. Very good handicapper for the UFC. And he said the price had shifted. The favorites flipped in this Zhang Suarez fight. And it appears what he was saying, and opinions that he respects, a lot of people, but apparently there's just this wave on Suarez, and he said not so fast. He kind of likes Zhang now in the role of an underdog as one of his best plays of the night. What do you think about that?
I trust Gam Lou when it comes to picking underdogs in the UFC. So if Lou loves an underdog, you got to listen with open ears. It's like a dog that hears you sneaking in a late night snack. They always hear it. So I'll ride with Gam Lou. I'll take the plus 130. I might need to shop around quickly to see if I can get a better price. But if Lou likes a dog, I'm riding with Gam Lou.
All right, Julio, we'll give you one last shot here. Anything else about the Super Bowl you want to talk about that we didn't mention here?
Other than I'm still surprised people are so stubborn that they don't think this is an exciting Super Bowl. I mean, this is the NFL we're talking about here. This is such a difficult league, and for a team to try to win a third Super Bowl in a row, for the same two teams to play in the game, it's just so difficult. Whether you think the league is rigged or not, the war of attrition, especially in football, catches up with you. So I think it's going to be an exciting matchup. And for my blood pressure's sake, I hope Kansas City wins.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you very much for spending some time here with us on Super Bowl Eve. Before we let you go, what's the final score, my man?
Wow, let's go 32-27. I know, 30-27. That's a better score. 30-27 Kansas City, game-winning field goal.
Okay. Well, there's a bet we talked about earlier in the show. The last score to be something other than a touchdown is a good plus price, around plus 180. So that would cash a ticket for you. And if you went with 32, the Chiefs' final score being 32, you could probably make a lot of money on that one, too. That's not a very common number. Julio Rosero, thank you so much, my friend, and we'll see you next week with Gabe and Cam on Sports Rage.
You guys take care. Good luck tomorrow.
Enjoy. Be good, Julio.
All right, what do you think of that, George? 30-27. I know you like the Philadelphia side, but he's obviously – and – I don't know if I got a final score. Yeah, I did. I did get a final score prediction out of Chernoff. I think every guest we've had on has been on the over, correct? Sia Najad, by the way, we adjusted his score. He got caught off guard, I guess, on air, and he told us as he left. Actually, I think it was 27-23 or something was the
Right,
yeah. But it was a total of 50. I know that. So it was Philadelphia and the over. Basically, it's been Philadelphia in the over. The only difference here with Julio, Kansas City in the over.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'm at 24-20, so a couple of points lower. If it does get over, to me, that means this game might be a blowout. And once again, I'll hope it's in Philadelphia's favor where they win 35-17. Because I don't think Kansas City can blow out Philadelphia. I don't think they have that kind of offense to do that. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnovers in the game. I don't. So I think it's going to be pretty much straight up. I just think Philadelphia is the better team. I think it's going to be a lot of long drives. With Barkley running the ball here, I don't think it's going to be loaded with big plays here. Mahomes is going to throw the ball a lot. There's going to be a lot of short pads here that eats up clock here. So that's another reason why I think it's going to be a lower scoring game here. But I'm the first person to tell you, out of those two bets, the winner of the game and the total, I feel much better about the winner of the game than I do the total. The total is a much lighter bet. I don't feel great about the under.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. And the scores, again, I tried to figure out how I think this game is going to go, and that's how I kind of landed. These are more in the category of bets that are for fun, and you're trying to put down a little to win a lot. That everybody knows that scenario. And basically, all of these final scores I've picked out would have this game going over the total. I think the number is really good. And obviously, we've seen a little bit of money come in on the under, down from 49.5 to 48.5. I think it's going to land right around 50. I kind of just, lean a little bit to the over. Final score for the Eagles, George, I took 28, which is at 12-1. I took 27, which is also at 12-1. And I took 31, which is at 14-1. Okay, so 28, 27, and 31 for the Eagles, all at pretty juicy prices if they land on exactly that. For the Chiefs, I took 24 at 10-1, 23 at 20-1, and 26 at 30-1. What do you think? Decent numbers?
My first thought was outside of the 26, you took pretty much straight up football numbers, right? So, at least old time football numbers. Where you're not worried about the 2-point conversions, which throws everything off here or anything like that. I worry about that with the Eagles somewhat because, like I said, extra point, there's a penalty, then it's at the 1 yard line. Well, here comes the tush push, and we're going with a 2-pointer. That throws all those things over. Everything out of whack here. It helps with the boxes if you have a bad box number. Maybe you cash for that. So they're guesswork, right? Now, I wouldn't have those numbers, so I don't think it's going to be that high-scoring game. I would go lower because, once again, I think it's a lower-scoring game. But as you said, outside of, once again, I guess Carver, Lisi, and I, most people do think it's going to be a higher-scoring contest.
Well, I think you bring up a great point that, the traditional scoring is more likely not to happen than probably ever before, right? And we've alluded to this with we feel both teams will convert a fourth down. We feel both teams will convert a fourth down probably in their own territory. We feel both teams will probably attempt a 2-point conversion or there will at least be one successful one. The scoring could definitely be different. I think there's a lot of opportunity to have an atypical score, if you will. What about the prop bet, George? I've got one for you. I'm going to save this one because I want to get the accurate price. I don't know exactly the accurate price off the top of my head, but I'll save that one for a minute. Going well for you on the ice, my friend. Calgary, I know you're on them as a short favorite. They have a short lead at the end of two periods in the books at the Saddle Dome. They lead Seattle 1-0. They are minus 500 now on the money line. Dallas starting to pull away from the Sharks. 7 goals on the board now. Just 1 minute left in the second period there in San Jose. 5-2 Dallas. And then Anaheim and Los Angeles, no score, just underway in the second period in LA. We'll be back to wrap up the show. A couple more segments to go right here on In-Game Live Game Day.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. Brady Kannon and George Kurtz with you right here on SportsGrid. Checking the college basketball scoreboard, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors really making a game of it at Santa Barbara, trailing by just 1 point now, 62-61. Less than 6 minutes left to go in regulation in the second half. Santa Barbara just a 1.5 point favorite in the live market. St. Mary's really no problem right now with Oregon State, up by 21, 59-38. 4 minutes and change left there in the second half in Corvallis. A good one in Fort Collins. Colorado State leading San Diego State 52-51. Washington up on Northwestern 39-30. And the big one of the night down in Tucson, Arizona and Texas Tech. This is the 20th ranked Wildcats against 13th ranked Red Raiders of Texas Tech, 39-37 in favor of Arizona, just by 2 points in favor of Arizona. They are 3.5 point favorites in the live market. We've seen them lead by as many as 5 or 6 points, I believe, in this game, but now it is getting a little tight, and they are currently at the break, halftime now at the McHale Center, 39-37 in favor of Arizona, and now your in-game total, we saw it as low as 145.5, now all the way back to 155.5 for that game there between Arizona and Texas Tech. All right, George, back to more Super Bowl talk here. Game of the year, and a game that we saw just a couple years ago, Kansas City and Philadelphia. Of course, the Chiefs winning that one by exactly 3 points. I think it's the last 3 Super Bowls in a row have been decided by exactly 3 points, and that's another bet you can make, believe it or not, in the proposition menu that we have here in front of us. By the way, I wanted to look up the prices on your predicted final score, and also Carver and Lisi, of 24-20. The Eagles landing on 24 is 12-1, and the Chiefs landing on exactly 20 points is also 12-1. So not crazy long shots there, but a pretty nice return if you can find that market. Might be worth some pizza money on that to have some fun with, of course, as well. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I wanted to look up the price. We've talked about, there's so many atypical scores versus the game of NFL football that you and I grew up with, when you always punted on fourth down and when you never went for two and this and that, whatever. And like we also said, the Super Bowl, there wasn't as much parity, it seems, in the league. The Super Bowls, we saw more blowouts. We saw the Dallas Cowboys blow out the Buffalo Bills. We saw the 49ers blow out the Chargers and the Broncos and the Steelers, those teams of the decades. Oftentimes the Super Bowl was anticlimactic. It hasn't been the case as of late. They've been much tighter games, but again, some more oddball scoring because of the way the game is these days. So will there be a scorigami? a unique score that has never happened in the NFL before. The yes is 20-1. The no is minus 10,000. Do you want any piece of will there be a scoregami, yes or no?
You know, when the no is minus 10,000, how can the yes only be 20-1?
I get that. Yeah.
Right, that's a little nuts. So no. Listen, no. Could it happen? Sure. You get more scoregamis nowadays because of the 2-point conversion. Whether they make it or they miss it, weird things can happen here. So that's why we get more scoregamis. But to get that, generally you need higher scoring games. Most scores in just the NFL's been around. You know, I don't know if there's any where it can be up to 30 for even team where you're going to get it. So you need higher scoring games to get the 30s. Once you get to the 40s, then you might get your scoregamis there. So no, I'm not betting it one way or the other. And I said, even if I was 20-1, it's just not enough. You got to pay me more for that.
Yeah, and I imagine it's the book protecting themselves a little bit because people are going to want to have fun with that. We've talked about that all night long. You know, a lot of the bets that we're making are less serious than other ones we're making, and because we want to have fun. We want to have action throughout the entire game. And so some of them that we're doing more casually. And I think if they threw a big price on that, they'd probably have a ton of liability. You know, because who's really going to lay minus 10,000? I mean, even a pro bettor, I don't think is going to lay minus 10,000 to win $100 or whatever it is. So, it's more of certainly a novelty one that we can talk about, not necessarily that we're going to take action on. If you had to, I know 24-20 in favor of the Eagles is your predicted score. We've talked about how today's game lends itself to the possibilities of different numbers, you know, landing as final scores with the 2 points and all that other stuff that they do more often these days. If you had to pick maybe another score that's maybe a little bit off market, if you will, maybe longer shot numbers here on the menu, what would it be? And I'll tell you, you know, I think this is kind of a fun. We always want to get into predicting the final score. You might as well get paid for it if you get it right.
Well, you know what keeps going through my head, because the scoregami's got me thinking, how can we get scoregami? Well, shutout is a way to get scoregami.
Yeah.
Right? Because there haven't been too many shutouts. I mean, and I could see Kansas City having trouble scoring. I can. Things just aren't going well. The Eagles defense is really good. The Eagles defense might be the best in the NFL, or maybe not even a shutout, but they hold them to 3 points, 6 points. You miss an extra point, you get 9 points, or they're going for too late in the game. So I can see something like that where the final score is 27-9, you know, something silly like that, you know, 27-8, you know, whatever it might be there. So I could see something sort of like that. You know, everything's went Philadelphia's way and nothing goes Kansas City's way. You know, even a higher. In that case, I would probably think Philadelphia scores more than 27 in a score like that, where it's 30, 34, 11, something silly like that. So that's another way of looking at it here. I just think if the game's a blowout, that means Philadelphia took care of business and nothing went Kansas City's way. I can't see Kansas City doing the same to Philly. Could it happen? Of course. And maybe by at this time tomorrow night, we're talking about, oh my God, Kansas City, the three-peat, they won 42-10. You know, I don't think that can happen. It's not the way I read it, but that'd be another way to get a scoregami. One team just doesn't have anything going on offense, scores single digits.
Philadelphia landing exactly on 34 is 16-1. Philadelphia landing exactly on 27 is 12-1. Philadelphia landing exactly on 10 is 20-1. Kansas City getting shut out, 0, that's 100-1. Getting only 3 points is 50-1. Getting 6 is 60-1. Getting 9 is 60-1. Getting 11 points is 200-1. And 42 points for Kansas City is 50-1, George. We'll be back to wrap it up here in just a moment. Stick around. It's
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live game day, the final segment here, and we will close up shop and get ready for the big game, the eve of Super Bowl 59. Here we are, and we will have you covered all day on Sunday as well, start to finish, from the top of the morning throughout the game, covering the in-game possibilities, in-game opportunities. It's going to be Super Bowl Sunday to the nines here on SportsGrid. One more segment left with Brady Kannon, myself, and George Kurtz. We've been talking about everything here, from prop markets to sides to totals to scoregamis. George, one thing we haven't gotten to are just a couple of Super Bowl stories from Super Bowls past. And over the break there, you told me you had a couple of good ones that I guess maybe not so good. They were some of your worst Super Bowl experiences ever. What happened?
Yeah, a buddy of mine last night asked me my worst Super Bowl experiences. It really has nothing to do with gambling. I didn't lose any money. I've never been to a Super Bowl, and I had a chance to go once, which was Giants-Buffalo. Scott Norwood, the Mr. Right pick.
Wow.
A buddy of mine, he got tickets. The only deal was that I would have to drive down, or my car would be taken down there. There's no problem. I do that. I have family. Super Bowl was in Tampa. I had family down there, so I had a place to stay. And then my aunt passed away a couple of days beforehand. Swear she did that on purpose to screw me out of that game, so I couldn't go. But it may be an experience that more of us can, or at least some of us can relate to. I went to a party, and this is the last Super Bowl party I've gone to, by the way. I don't remember the Super Bowl, but it was the one where the Rolling Stones were playing the halftime show. This has nothing to do with anything, but I went to a Super Bowl party. All right, it was probably about 20 people, guys, girlfriends, wives, whatever it might have been. It might have been. My wife was not there, and Brady, we're watching the game, and they're pausing every commercial if Cindy had to go tinkle. Because Cindy went to the bathroom, they had to pause. We ended up being about 15, 18 minutes behind. Now, this is before social media, by the way, so it wasn't like I was finding anything out on TikTok or Twitter or X, whatever, but it was driving me insane. And a buddy of mine goes, "You want to get out of here?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can get back to my apartment before before the second half starts, because halftime's forever in those things. But let's go." I couldn't take it anymore. It's like, literally, they were pausing the game because Cindy or Marie or Jen had to go pee. And they were going to miss the Doritos commercial. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that would have driven me nuts for sure. And I would have done the same thing and left and found another location at halftime. Just a few minutes left here in the segment. I hope your Super Bowl Sunday goes better than that tomorrow, George. But one thing that we didn't talk about, we've heard loud and clear all night long your opinions on how this is going to go for Patrick Mahomes and Saquon Barkley and the Eagles and Hurts. And, I think we've covered, inside and out. One thing we have not talked about is who's the MVP. I know you like the Eagles to win the game. Jalen Hurts he's a short price here. I'm showing this at the Westgate Superbook in Las Vegas, 13-4. So you're looking at, plus 350 or so to win the MVP on Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown, 30-1. Saquon Barkley is actually a little shorter than Jalen Hurts. He's in the neighborhood of like plus 275, plus 250, something like that. Who's your MVP of Super Bowl 59?
Well, no doubt in my mind, if Kansas City wins the game, it's Mahomes. All right, there's no way it can't be. Who else? All right, it can't be one of the receivers. That means Mahomes threw the ball to you. I guess it could be Chris Jones if he has a couple of big sacks, maybe in return for a touchdown, something like that, but it's Mahomes. That being said, I've got Philadelphia winning the game. I mentioned it's almost always a quarterback award, right? Almost always, Brady. But I think they really want Barkley to get this. I think the writers do. I think the game plan is going to be through Barkley, so I think, once again, he'll have a shot at it. That being said, I'd be all willing to take Barkley, but his price is actually worse than Jalen Hurts. I mean, for that reason alone, I got to go the quarterback. All right, if you're going to give me the worst price for the quarterback, I'll take the quarterback. But I think they really want Barkley to win this.
Is it better if you're a Kansas City Chiefs backer? Is it better to take Mahomes at a plus price to win MVP than bet the side?
Yes. Yeah. I'd probably go with Mahomes. Listen, Phil, I like Philadelphia. I don't think it's, oh my God, I'm not betting my house on this, okay? It's probably one of my strongest bets of the day, but I'm not shocked if come tomorrow night, Kansas City won the game. I'm not shocked at all.
No, I hear you loud and clear. I'm the same way. I have a bet on Philadelphia. It's not for huge money. I feel that they're the better team. I got tired of trying to say, but what it's that guy on the other side. I just had to trust my numbers and my gut feeling here. And George, you and I are Eagles fans. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Matt, Tommy, the whole crew back behind the glass. Have a great Super Sunday, everybody. We'll see you here later on the grid.